Hey guys, Doug the Retirement Guy here. We have the new update to the Yieldmax ETFs, the weekly paying dividends. We have all 9 of them that we're going to do the review with. So, in the new format, plus some old format added to it, I think you guys are going to love this thing. But before we get into that, I got to say thanks and a shout out to all of our supporters out there. You guys are just going crazy with it. Love it. We appreciate it. Plus, along with all the subscribers, you guys are doing a phenomenal job out there. We love you adding it all to the committee and to the community to learn about these weeklies and retirement and so on. So we want to say thanks to each and every one of you. And if you want to help support the channel, just look down in the description, click that link that says support the channel. Go to Patreon, join. You can do it for free. You can do it for a quick little donation, or you can do it on a monthly type basis. So we appreciate it, and let's get into today's video. Notice to all viewers, past performance does not guarantee future results. The information provided in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It should not be considered financial or investment advice. The examples and suggestions discussed are illustrative and may not be suitable for all individual situations. Always consult a licensed financial advisor or a professional before making any financial decisions. So as we said here, we're going to get into Yieldmax, their weekly paying ETFs. Now, one thing I want to do here, if you're new to the channel or new to this video, you'll see Yieldmax was one of the first ones to come out with a series of weekly paying dividend ETFs. Yieldmax generally, their aim is to generate income through options-based strategies. They seek to harvest the yields from assets that might not typically be associated with a regular income. And a couple of the big ones I want just to show off immediately, just to show you how big these weeklies have become. And I know everyone's talked about that they are really into the negative performance and the loss of NAV, and everyone's going crazy about that. But take a look at what ULTY, which is it's a ETF fund that goes after U.S. securities. They have assets under management of over $2.17 billion and shares of over 318 million outstanding. The second one that a lot of people own, a lot of people deal with is the YMAX. They're almost ready to break the $1 billion mark already. And they have 71.1 million shares outstanding. So just to give you an idea what these weekly funds are doing, they started off as a neat idea that no one really took seriously. And the subscribers and the people like you and I jumped onto these things, started getting some great dividends out of it, really started making some changes, especially now that a lot of them are hitting their bottoms, or they're kind of finding their footholds and moving forward. So these things are very strong, very powerful. And if you're not familiar with them, we're going to get you familiar with them. You're going to understand all this. Let's get into the review of all the 9 Yieldmax funds and go from there. First thing we're going to do is the growth of the funds. So we've taken this and kind of running it week in, week out. And you take a look at it right now. Now, Yieldmax had I call it a bad week. Most of their funds are down. There's only 3 out of the 9 that are actually up. Everything else is down. But when we start look at this, and the semiconductor portfolio, which is CHPY, I call it CHIP, but it is the semiconductor, and year to date, they're up over 13.83%. Now that's phenomenal year to date compared to everything else being down. But look at what's going on. They have a loss in the 30-day and a loss in the 1 week. That means that price of that share is coming down slowly. And it's something that I would say we got to keep an eye on, that, hey, this may be a buying opportunity. If you're already up 13 points year to date, they could be just going through a little bit of a fine tuning with tariffs and different things happening and changing their business platforms, which we're starting to see, that this may be a fund to watch out for. The next one, the winner of the 30-day growth, and that's going to be the NASDAQ 100 zero DTE covered calls. So that one, they're doing a lot of the zero at the end of the day. They'll put it out there and make money, basically. I'll call it overnight, so that they have 0 days before the covered call is done. Then that's QDTY. That thing's up 3.86%, and the 1 week it's up 0.66. So it's the opposite of CHIP. We're seeing it starting to grow, and it's starting to come back, and this again a telltale sign that we look and say, this is probably one we want to look at. and see, is it time to buy into it or not buy into it? Even though it's still down year to date, it could be an opportunity of a buying position. Same thing with SDTY, which is in 1 week had 1.17 growth, which is the S&P 500 cover call. This one, when you look at that, it shows you the opposite. It is, it is up 1 week. It's also, unfortunately, it's up 3.38%. So it's still down. So there's some of the things that we need to look at. Now we'll look at the two major ones or three major ones that I always look at, and that's ULTY. Had a bad week, which is great for us because it got back down to that $6.27 buying point. And it's kind of one of those things is the train backed up to the station, get on board, pick up some more shares, and let's watch it go back up to that 640 price range. I have a separate video on ULTY that we're trying to show that the safety points of it and where you can buy in at and be comfortable with. And the other one that we have out there is the Yieldmax. Yieldmax had a slight drop off, but I'll show you when we get to the dividends where they had a good increase in dividends. So all the funds doing very, very well. Chip wins with the 13.83% year to date. And as I said earlier, the notable QDTY, notable to the second growth over the past 30 days, has been strong, and probably should put STDY on there as well. So let's take a look at, now we know what the funds, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the overall growth of the funds this week. But let's take a look at what we did so let's take a look at the dividend payout this week from these different funds. And we look at LFGY, which is the crypto industry, set the record this week of 48, almost 49 cents in dividends. So did a very, very strong number. And they also win the average per week at 51 cents per share. So they do a great job of cashing, I call it cashing in on the crypto market, giving a nice dividend each and every week and a nice average. But the real winner I look at this one comes into is ULTY, the ultra option income strategy. Now this one here is just blowing me away. And that is, it pays on almost consistency. This one's about 10. I always use 9.5 cents, even though our system is going to tell us 15 cents. There's a few funds out there that it paid over the past 12 months that I won't say I dislike. I just don't know if we'll hit those numbers because I believe they were done before it switched over to a weekly payer. But even so, when you look at this at 10 cents a week, this thing has collected 121 percentage points, or $7.62, and the shares only sell for $6.27. So basically, the income that you're generating that in less than 7 months, you can virtually pay for each share that you have. So you get all your money back in 7 months. Very, very strong piece there. That's why a lot of people like the ULTY. So when you got LFGY paying at 51 cent average, you got LTY paying at $7.62 or 121%. Both of them very, very strong funds when you're looking at the dividend side of it. So when we turn around and talk to people saying, ULTY is down 30% for the year and everything about that, the truth is, though, in 7 months, you have all your money back. So it's kind of one of those pieces that, sounds too good to be true, but we've been tracking it and we've been doing it. The other big one a lot of people talk about is that Yieldmax, the universal fund. And that is a great fund because if you don't know, the Yieldmax takes all of these funds and puts them all together and sells options and so on off of those funds in-house. So some big things there. $8.42 collected so far, or 60%. It's the second largest dividend gainer in the market. This week paid 18 cents. Last week was 10 cents. So they had a nice big boost this week, made up for the little loss last week. And they average a 16-cent solid week in, week out. So there's another fund right there that probably within a year to a year, maybe a year and a quarter, you'll see that thing, enough dividends will pay back the shares that you've done. But that's what's part of our next screen and our next piece that we do, and that's called the return on investment. So now we're going to take a look at something new that we're doing, and that is a return on investment report. And what this really is return on your investment from just dividends. We're not going to look at the returns or the value of the fund or anything like that. We're just looking at purely hardcore numbers that if we took the dividends and put them off to the side, or pour them back into the fund, what would we have and how long would it take to get our money back into our pocket to virtually doubling our money? And because a Yieldmax does such a great job with their dividend payouts and they're doing so well, these guys are blowing it away. They're doing something really unique. And I start off with the fund that everyone's going to talk about, and that's going to be ULTY, the Ultra Option Income Strategy. With that 15-cent dividend that they're averaging and the price point of only $6.27, the return in weeks is basically 42 weeks, or 3/4 of a year, 7 months, and you have all your funds back from ULTY, just dividends alone. So as I've said this in many times before in videos, is the old set it and forget it program. This on here is set it, and in 7 months, watch what it develops, watch what it grows. Even if the stock value goes down, preferably the stock value goes up, which is what we project that thing to do. But even if nothing changes in the value of the stock itself in 7 months just from dividends, you have the money back. That's what makes this one the big winner, is that 3/4 of a year ULTY, and why we talk so much about it and keep an eye onto it. But when you take a look, let's take ULTY off the table and look at other ones. The crypto industry, LFGY, is at a year and a half, or 76 weeks. The real big favorite one that a lot of people have, and if you watched our car video, we have funds in this one as well, is the Yieldmax, the universal fund. At that 16-cent average dividend, this thing's a year, just a hair over, I'm going to pull it to a year and 3/4, even bouncing up a little bit, 86 weeks, and we have all our money back from Yieldmax. We can talk this almost all day long. The Magnificent Seven, the YMAG, at 15 cents, that's going to be almost just under 2 years, and you have all your money back from that. So this is another way of looking at it and saying, hey, I want to set it, forget it, don't want to worry about it. Where would you put your money? This is where I'd start looking at stuff and saying, look, your return on investment is huge. A lot of people use it. A lot of big time investors use it. So we're now going to add this to our portfolio and say, guys, look, we're not 100% dialed into ULTY as the only fund to be into, but it's definitely one that you can get your money back in dividends fairly quickly. So now we take a look at the portfolio. Give you guys an update. This thing started April 25th. We're continuing on with this and just showing you what we have done and what's the best. When we bought every one of the funds, we put $1,000 into each one of the funds, and we're sitting here now with the fund in just since April 25th is up $667 or 7.42%. That's not bad. When we take a look at this from April, we're really 3 months into this, and we're up 7.42%. When we look at the dividends, though, we're collecting 11.5% dividends in those 3 months of over $1,035. The big winner goes into that ULTY again at $217, but there's a lot of pieces of this puzzle that's actually looking very strong. And then the total fund right now, we've gained $1,700 of our initial investment for an 18.92% return. The big winner up there is GPTY, and that one's given us a nice 30% growth already in return off of that fund. Now, most of theirs is coming from what we call stock return value, and that's given over $200 in return value alone. While a lot of these funds are designed for dividend income, you can see when you get that happy medium between the two, like a ULTY or like a QDTY, you're really getting into those double digit 20, 30% numbers. So we're really impressed so far with what they've done. They've continued on. We don't see a lot of loss. The two that we see currently, YMEG is below our initial investment and LFGY is below our initial investment, but they're both slowly coming out with the dividend payoffs to it. So it's another thing to look at across the board. So let's take a look at Doug's top 5 picks give you the stuff that we're going to be looking at this week to purchase into or add to in our personal funds. And it starts off with CHPY, chip, the semiconductor. Now, this one here, I'm not real excited about with the ROI onto it of being 2 years and 3/4. I do like that 50 cents, though, in dividends paying in. And here's the thing, it is down in the 30 days, down 1.1%. But I see, if we look at the chart, we would see that saying it's starting to climb. It's starting to come out of the basement. So it's kind of one of those times is I want to grab some growth along with that dividend and move me up that food chain, probably shortening that return on investment basically from the growth side of it. At number 4, YMAG, the Magnificent Seven, those technology companies. Again, I think they are starting to make their move north. I think the first half of the year they've been struggling. They didn't know what to do with just everything in the marketplace. I see a lot of them are now saying, okay, you guys are making decisions on AI. So that's our next vision for us to go after. And you're going to see the Magnificent Seven coming in the next 6 months. I think you're going to see some decent growth coming out of them. Again, 2 years on that return, 50-cent dividend, and already it's up 1.212% in 30 days. So this is why I kind of put it out there. Said I think YMAG's one I'm going to be seriously looking at. Number 3, you can always say this, hands down. I look at YMAX across the board for a lot of different things. The return on the investment's a year and a half. Paying that 15-cent dividend, it's already showing up 1.61 over 30 days. This is a squeaker. This is one that you're going to squeak a couple pennies, maybe up to 10 cents a week increase. You're going to lose a little. It's going to come back, but that dividend's been holding steady. Even though last week it was down to 10 cents, it's now brought it back up to 18 cents, keeping it inside that 15-cent average. So YMAX is just, again, another nice cash flow, nice cash piece. And I believe that share price was 13, don't hold me to this one, 13.75, 13 somewhere in there. It's an inexpensive fund to get into. That will give you some nice return down the road. Number 2, and this one comes in surely, guys, is the crypto year and a half return with that 51-cent dividend. If you want to be in the crypto market, this is an item that's doing fairly decent. It's, even though it's down 1.88% in the 30 days, again, we're seeing that starting to creep up again. And this one showed that it's given us the best performance across the board. But our number 1 winner, if you guys don't guess this one, you don't watch the channel enough, and that is the number 1 pick of the Yieldmax funds is going to be ULTY. I just kind of look at this and say, is it going to hold from today? Will it hold for 3/4 of a year or 7 more months? And I gotta believe the answer is yes to that one. Even though we're seeing the stock value going down, we've covered this numerous times. We know where the bottoms. We've got a good idea where the bottom's at. We're trying to get to a higher point. It's trying to get a higher point. But when we know we can buy this thing in that 620 something mark, like 625, 627, 624, it can do it. We give this thing the big win, even up to $7 a share. $7 a share still keeps you in that 3/4 a year mark, that with just that 15-cent dividend. So across the board, you can't lose in that ULTY in that program, using the dividends to refund your money. So now this is not something I'm going to say a retiree is going to do. It's, because they're going to want to live off that 15 cents. But the answer to it is, if you're investing, if you have extra money on the sidelines, you don't know what to do with, you can easily put it into ULTY, let it ride for 3/4 of a year, and come back and look at yourself smiling. Stay close to the channel, because we'll watch ULTY on a weekly basis to tell you, hey, is it time to bail? Is it time? What's happening? We'll keep you informed across the board. So guys, that's our top 5 picks. Hopefully you've gotten what you needed out of the Yieldmax package. And if you like what we're doing, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber yet, hit that subscribe. We do this on a daily basis, and we do these kind of reviews on a weekly basis. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think. You may not like our top 5. You may not like our number 1. Tell us what you guys think. Do you like the new format? Do you not like the new format? And best of all, if you guys can help out with the Patreon, support the channel. We keep giving you more and more information. The more we get in Patreon, the more we're going to put out there. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week.